Here we are. Good morning, friends. Good morning, and welcome to our small group gathering. PB reads the Bible. I'm PB, Pastor Brian. I am the pastor here at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church in Milton, PA, and it is great to be joining together, gathering together with you this morning. Great, wonderful opportunity. Why does it say was live? Interesting. Oh, that's the wrong one. Hang on one sec. I'll be with you in a sec. I'll be with you in a sec. This my phone messed up. Oh, there we go. Now I got it. Now I'm back in there. Today is Thursday, January 30th, and it is 9 o'clock a.m. PB reads the Bible. This is a small group where we do that. I read from the Bible. You follow along in yours, or just listen, if that's the case, because you're busy doing other things at the same time. You people are multitaskers. I am not, that's for sure. And then I share some comments on it, try to open it up and help explain it, especially with what the context is that's going on, what's taking place there. And then you ask questions, or share your own comments. This is great. Since we're a small group, that means we share life together. So I'm going to ask you to do a couple things. The first is to let me know you're there, because all I see is a number. And then sometimes I see a name pop up. But extend your greetings, not just to me, but to each other. So I see good morning, John and Cindy, and good morning, Crystal. Crystal sent me a text in advance. She's driving, so I don't expect her to post anything. You better not be watching, just listen there, Crystal. And Sharon is joining us this morning. Great, wonderful to have you there as well, Sharon. This is great stuff. Now, if you're not able to join live, maybe, because I know often that's the case, and you're finding time some other time of your busy days and busy lives to catch up and to engage. Please still let me know you're there. Please still share your comments and your questions. I go back in to see. I did see that there were several folks who had joined at other times, and didn't see any comments or questions. So, but go ahead and let me know what those are. Also, let's share with each other what's on our hearts and our minds, so we can keep each other surrounded and lifted in prayer. Good morning, Bonnie. A sunny day. It's a sunny day today. It's a sunny day here in Milton as well. Good morning, Maureen. Good to see you. And good morning, Sharon Wirt. Good morning. Good to see you this morning as well. So yeah, prayers. Keep each other listed. I've got several I want to share with you this morning. Excuse me. Good morning this morning. Yes, indeed. I have several I want to share with you. One is for Jean Zartman, parishioner here, one of our sisters here at St. Andrews here in Milton, and she begins cancer treatments today. She's going to be having cancer treatments once every 3 weeks, and I forget how many treatments she's going to have. So it's going to take a while to get through them all. 3 weeks doesn't sound quite as bad. I know a lot of people have to have them every week, and you're just starting to feel better, and then you give you another injection, right? So her treatments are spaced out a little bit more. Craig and Mary Ritchie we've mentioned Craig and some issues that he was having, and that he was in the hospital. And initial word on Sunday was that he was going to be discharged. That didn't take place. They decided he needed some therapy before he can leave. It's a good thing, because Mary ended up getting very sick. Mary is quite ill with the bout of the flu, apparently. And in the meantime, Craig, that they've now decided to start him on dialysis. So prayers for Craig and for Mary and for the whole family with that. Dialysis isn't what it used to be, and we might have those pictures of the old time machines, and might have stories of, well, that's it, that's the end. It's not always the case anymore. It's not a case of once you start dialysis, you're always on dialysis. This could only be temporary, and that is the hope. So that's our prayer. That's our prayer. Dale and Tam Comas, Chomas. Dale is a dentist in Watsontown. Actually, he's my dentist. I go to his group. He just retired himself. their house burned down yesterday. It was to be that they are obviously heartbroken completely. It's a complete loss. It was their retirement home. They also both ended up in the hospital with smoke inhalation and other issues. I don't know how Tam is doing, other than she is stable. Dale is either still at Geisinger. They were both at Geisinger. I don't know if she's still there or if she's been released. Dale is either still there or he was to be transferred by helicopter to Lehigh Valley Burn Unit as soon as they had a bed available. So I don't know if that has taken place yet, but they obviously are in need of prayers and of action. They're in Kiwanis with me, and I know that the Kiwanis is going to be talking about that tonight, how we can help. But we can start helping now through prayer. They need prayer for healing, for restoration of their lives, in addition to not just physical healing, but that psychological and spiritual healing and complete restoration of their lives. And Chrissy Lytle, Chrissy on February 11th will be having bone marrow transplant. And so, that's, Pastor Brian, that's 2 weeks away. So what? Let's get started, right? We need to be in prayer that nothing happens between now and then that's going to mess that up. And I know she's going back and forth to Johns Hopkins a lot. And then she's going to have to be away from the family for like 2 months. Got to be down very close to Hopkins within an hour or something like that for those 2 months. Family might be able to join her from time to time, but she needs to be extra careful as far as, illnesses. So, anyway, prayers over all that. That's a big one. So, let us be in prayer, my friends, and then we'll jump into the reading, and then we'll do some announcements at the end. Gracious God, we give you thanks and praise for this glorious day. It is a nice, sunny, clear one here. Beautiful, crisp blue skies. We thank you for that. It's like a picture out there, at least in my eyes and my mind. Every day is a gift from you, Lord, and help us to receive every day as that gift and to rip them open and to use them to better the lives, not only of ourselves and our friends and our family, but of complete strangers, that we can be blessings to others because you have blessed us so much. One of your blessings is the gift of your presence and your listening ear, so we trust that you've heard these things that we've shared this morning. You've also heard things that we haven't shared, and we just lift it all up to you. We pray for miracles, and help us to see those miracles and to accept those miracles. Lastly, Papa, we ask for your presence to be here with us today. Open our hearts and our minds to what you would have us receive as we read together from the Bible. It is in your Son Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to read chapter 33 today. Correction, we're going to read most of chapter 33 today. We're going to leave the last three verses, 18, 19, and 20. We're going to leave them. We're going to connect them into chapter 34. It kind of makes more sense. So we're reading chapter 33, verses 1 through 17 this morning. Okay? And, so let's jump into it, shall we? Let's jump into it. Now, Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming, and 400 men with him. So he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the 2 maids. He put the maids with their children in front, then Leah with all her children, and Rachel and Joseph last of all. He himself went on ahead of them, bowing himself to the ground 7 times until he came near his brother. Pause. So we read this or hear this, and those opening words that Jacob looked up. So remember, Jacob is limping into the promised land, into Canaan, because of his wrestling match with Yahweh, and he had been so afraid What were some of the things he had done? He split his camp into two different camps, figuring if Esau attacks one, maybe the other one will get away. So he sees, he's limping into Canaan. He looks up, he sees Esau coming along with 400 men. You would expect him to still be filled with fear, right? But then we read the next words, the rest of this. He abandoned his other plan. He abandoned his plan of having it split into two camps, and we would assume evenly divided. It's one camp, but he has the women, the mothers, his wives, and their children separated and grouped. And he goes ahead of them all. He goes ahead of everybody, with the exception of the gift droves that he had sent off ahead to greet Esau. He goes in front of his entire company by himself, willing to accept whatever takes place. You know, and he does put them in order. He puts them in an order. He puts his secondary wives first and their children, and then he puts Leah and then Rachel and Joseph last. So we can see he was he was saving his most favored wife to be the last one that he's going to introduce to Esau. It's going to be like building up to his favored wife. But try to picture him. You know, it's hard because it doesn't say limping, but he's limping this whole time, and as he's going and limping, he's bowing down 7 times, and it's bowing himself to the ground. What does that mean? Does it mean it might very well mean that he's like falling on the ground on his face, right? Not just bowing towards the ground, but each time he bows, he's getting literally down on the ground. It certainly can be that. And the number 7, of course, is important. Number 7 is, symbolic of completion. It's a complete number, right? Like the number of days in a week. It's 7. So it's this complete bowing, and which would also be reminiscent or symbolic of servitude. And although we don't know for sure, it also could be part of a ritual for seeking forgiveness. And he still doesn't know what's going to happen. He still doesn't know, but he has abandoned his fear, and he has put his trust in Yahweh. Verse 4, but Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. When Esau looked up and saw the women and children, he said, "Who are these with you?" Jacob said, "The children whom God has graciously given your servant." Then the maids drew near, they and their children, and bowed down. Likewise, Leah likewise and her children drew near and bowed down. And finally, Joseph and Rachel drew near, and they bowed down. Pause. The author is very particular with that repetition of bowed down. The maids and all four wives and their children all bowed down before Esau in the same way, or at least a very similar way. It doesn't necessarily mean identical to how Jacob had done it with Esau. And more signs of servitude or pleading, asking for forgiveness, however it is. Now, Jacob's words, because Esau said, "Whose are these? Who are these with you?" Jacob says, "They're the children whom God has graciously given your servant." He is being clear that any of his success is God, and that God is creating a people out of Jacob. As much as he, is using servant language, he's being clear that we're not part of your family. We're our own family. That's important. We kind of skip over that. Again, we read too fast, we don't get it. But by using that God language, he's setting up, and it's the author is probably I should say, setting this up for what Jacob and Esau are going to be conversing about in these following verses. So picking up from there. Now, remember, just pause that. Remember, Jacob had said all of those droves, all the flocks and servants and etc., ahead of himself, and he even sent messengers with them to give them to Esau. And he said, at the time, he said, perhaps they will appease him, perhaps he will forgive me because of them. And we aren't given Esau's reply other than he's coming to meet you. So what is Esau? How did Esau receive that? Right? So here we're going to find out. Verse 8. Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company that I met?" Jacob answered, "To find favor with my Lord." Pause. Esau. Okay. So Esau had been told, then that was the messenger, right? Now he's saying to find favor with my Lord. So we might say as bribery or whatever, seeking to appease him. He's sending these things ahead. But Esau said, I have enough. My brother. Keep what you have for yourself. Jacob said, no, please. If I find favor with you, no, please, if I find favor with you, then accept my present from my hand. For truly to see your face is like seeing the face of God, since you have received me with such favor. Please accept my gift that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have everything I want. So he urged him, and he took it. Pause. So Jacob says, at first, they're a gift to find favor with you. Esau says, I have enough. Esau doesn't want it, doesn't need it for that purpose. So then Jacob changes his purpose for the gift and says it's out of gratitude, because I have found favor, because seeing you is like seeing the face of God. God has been gracious to me, and so I want to give this gift to you because I have found favor, and that found favor is connected to both. I have found favor both with you and with God, and that's why I want to give you this gift. And it sounds like, although it's only a few words, it sounds like Esau again declines the offer, but eventually he took it, which is the proper custom at the time. You wouldn't say yes right away. You would decline offers of things like that. Verse 12. Then Esau said, let us journey on our way, and I will go alongside you. But Jacob said to him, my Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the flocks and herds which are nursing are a care to me. And if they are overdriven for one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord pass on ahead of his servant, and I will lead on slowly, according to the pace of the cattle that are before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir. So Esau said, let me leave with you some of the people who are with me. But he said, why should my Lord be so kind to me? So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built himself a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the place is called Succoth. End of 17, and that's where we're going to be stopping today with our reading. But we're going to talk about these things. So, multiple times in this passage, Esau says, let's join together, is basically what he's saying. Let us be on our way. Let us journey on our way. The NIV and the NRSV differ on a couple of these words, and the NIV might get the context and the wording a little bit better, because the NRSV in verse 12, the NRSV says, "I will go alongside you," but the NIV says, "I'll accompany you," and which is more of a together. It seems that, and Jacob declines, and he uses some weird language. We're not 100% sure what he means, and it sounds like he's just giving excuses. Esau accepts those excuses, though, at face value. The idea that the children are young. Some of them can't be too young. Some of them have to be at least teenagers at this point. But they're all the flocks are nursing. I would lose them all if I pushed them too hard. Sounds like exaggeration, but Esau accepts all of his excuses at face value, which is interesting and odd. But he doesn't end it there. He says, "Let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." And again, let's shift to the NIV translation for that. He says, "Let me leave some of my men with you." Again, wanting to pull together. Why? Because he wants them to come to Seir. Jacob, and here the NIV is definitely better, because in the NRSV it says, "Why should my Lord be so kind to me?" That kind of misses it. The NIV abbreviates it a little bit, right? Shortens it up and says, "But why do that? Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord." That's probably a more accurate translation. Because Jacob doesn't want his family and his nation to be sucked into Edom, into Esau's nation. He wants it separate. This is kind of a way of saying, hey, we're family, but we're not family. We're family, but we're not that kind of family. We're going to keep a little distance between us. We're not coming back that much. We're not going to be this one thing, and we're not going to be your family. Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord. This is good enough for me. This is good enough for me. He wants to keep the families distinct and separate. And he does say, I will, but he does say, in verse 14, I will come to you in Seir at some point. He doesn't. That's a spoiler alert, perhaps. He doesn't. But does it mean he's being deceptive, that he shouldn't, that he never intended to go to Seir? We don't know that, and it's probably wrong to indicate that. Jacob seems to be doing a pretty good job of following God's instructions. God didn't tell him to go to Seir. God told him to go to Canaan. God told him to go home. So this would be a digression from the path. This would add time away. This would delay his journey home if he were to go to Edom, if he were to go to Seir with Esau. And so he declines it. Oh, I'm sorry, back up to the gift, the giving, and he finally convinces Esau to receive the gift. Something I wanted to say. God's promise to Jacob, and previously to Abraham and stuff, was, I will be a blessing to you, and through you I will be a blessing to others. This is actually Jacob living up to that, like fulfilling that promise with Esau. He's blessing Esau because he has been blessed so much. Okay, anyway, I just want to say that before I forget it. So back to that last paragraph, those last couple of verses. So they split up. They kind of go their separate ways. Esau goes home to Seir, but Jacob journeys to Succoth. And it becomes named Succoth because of what Jacob does. He builds some booths, which in Hebrew is Succoth. There becomes, of course, the festival of booths, also known as Succoth in the Jewish tradition. All right. They boots for his cattle. We don't know how long he stayed there. We're going to pick up from there next time. Oh, good morning, Becky. Good to have you joining us today, too. Sorry, this is kind of a shorter one, perhaps, this morning. 9:25 only. Although I had a lot of prayer requests, too. So yeah, today's Thursday, so it's, for me anyway, it's Thursday if you're not joining live, or it might not be. And it's the last one for this week. We will be back next week, and we're looking at my calendar, at least right now. We're good for both Tuesday and Thursday next week, so February 4th and February 6th. Okay, so we're up for, right now, we're up for both next week. The following week, I'm going to be on vacation starting Monday, February 10th through the 16th. So we're not going to have any lessons. We're not going to have any gatherings that week of our small group. But next week we should have two. So we'll see you on Tuesday. But between Thursday and Tuesday is Sunday. That's right, Sunday. So we have Sunday school and we have worship. Sunday school is at 9 o'clock. And of course, that's only in person, but we would love to have you join us. We've got a number of classes you could join, including my own. And then 10:30 is worship, and that is live streamed as well. So although we would love to have you join us in person, we understand if you can't make it, and we would love to have you join us through the live stream right here on Facebook. And we're continuing our series, Faithful Footsteps, and this week is Facing Opposition. And Courageous Love Amidst Rejection is the name of the sermon for this week. Courageous Love Amidst Rejection. All right, my friends, that's going to be it for today. I thank you for joining me this morning. I do pray that this has been beneficial in some way, that you've learned something or relearned something, that God has spoken to you in some way. As you go about your days, not just today, but each and every day, keep those eyes and ears, physical and spiritual, open to everything that our living, loving, active God is doing in your life and in the lives of those around you. When you see it, when you hear it, say, "Thank you, Papa," and then tell somebody about it. Come back here next week with some stories to share. And so until we meet again, my friends, be blessed. Be blessed. Bye.